Hey there, soccer freaks. This is ATL On Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United Football Club. So sit back, buckle up, enjoy. But yeah, I got to get my head back in gear for the game two weeks ago.
Yeah, Ruidiaz.
Ruidiaz.
I cut you off. Sorry.
Was that like the 6th, 7th minute? I don't know. It was like in the first 10 minutes.
Pretty
right?
early, yeah.
Remind me, do you recall the goal?
It's a corner kick, and it's interesting because the commentator said
Brooks Lennon.
It was a free header. That's not true. He was draped all. Brooks Lennon was draped all over Ruidiaz. But for those of you out there, again, the young podcast listeners out there, one of the things, this again is a bit my critique of American defending, right? In the penalty area, there is no such thing as marking, right? Because he proved it on that play. You can be as draped over him as much as possible, and they can still score. All you need to do is get 3 inches out in front of him, and it's a goal. So when you are defending in the penalty area, it is imperative to actually beat the guy to the ball and score or defend by getting it out rather than just trying to mark someone.
Right. So speed to the ball as it comes into a playable position.
Yeah, and
based on its arc.
Yeah, you can see Brooks Lennon on that play. He's trying to track Ruidiaz, and he's all over him. He's got 2 arms around his waist, basically. But, so you start by tracking the guy, but as the ball is in the air, you've got to see it and go get it.
Yeah. And, really, again, that was a poor moment of, just what you need to do and get gritty on the defensive set plays, which seems to be a vulnerability of Atlanta United so far this season on set plays. I feel like we're pretty vulnerable. I don't know if you're witnessing the same, but
is that true? What are the set plays we've given up?
A couple corners for sure at the beginning of the season that came flying through.
I don't feel like we've been particularly vulnerable. I'd have to look at stats, but and I don't actually, maybe I would disagree with you slightly in that, in fairness, I was pointing out that critique because that's just the important way, to think about it, right? But if you are drapes all over someone and you're fighting for the ball and they score anyway, sometimes you just have to tip your hat to them and be like, good goal. The way you prevent that is not to concede possession in your end, not to give up corner kicks, not to give up set pieces.
Yeah. And, overall, though, I felt like the possession, again, was really strong by Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And possession in their side of the field, moving it around, not too laterally, but trying to create some chances, particularly against a good team.
It's awfully impressive to go on the road to Seattle. I mean, Seattle's undefeated at that point, and to go on the road and dominate possession like that in their stadium is awfully impressive.
Yeah, I'm looking at my scribbled notes here. So I do recall in the first half, Bello, again, a weakness of his. There was a ball that was played, deep and over the top. Mm-hmm. And as it came into the box, he kind of tried to almost back pass it to another player and just he basically passed it right to the other team. Mm-hmm. When the pressure, and there was a million things he could have done, like kick it out of bounds or whatever. But again, it was that we've got to play possession out of the back, even when it's a bad idea.
Trying to get too cute.
Mm-hmm. And that was just a moment we got completely lucky on. Again, an area where Bello needs to continue to develop.
But, the interesting thing is outside of the first 10 minutes when they had, the goal and maybe another chance, as the game went on, they did not have great chances at all.
They didn't.
And this is what I was saying, the last podcast. I think Atlanta United is potentially shaping up as a team that could be one of the better defensive sides we've seen in a while in MLS. And that's also without Alan Franco. For those of you out there who are like, hearing that Walks is great and he's defending whatever, there is zero chance that Alan Franco, as a 23-year-old player already capped for the Argentinian national team, came here not to be the starter. As soon as he is back healthy again, Walks is going to be on the bench.
And so looking at my notes here, I have no notes on Walks or Robinson or Guzan in the first half, which probably means they played pretty decent. I have
news is good news.
I have a scribble that Sosa was 100%. He made one bad pass, and that was a probing pass forward.
Yeah.
And to your point, last podcast is you'd actually rather see more of that from him.
Yeah, if he's never giving the ball away, then he's not, in my opinion, pushing hard enough.
Yeah, and is definitely the type of pass you want to try to make something happen on. So made note of that. Brooks Lennon, a couple of giveaways and not the best crosses in the first half. And I don't know, I just kind of made the observation, Brooks Lennon's style of play looks stiff sometimes. I don't know if you see the same thing.
He's definitely a player who a typical American style who relies on his athleticism more than his creativity. That's for sure.
But it's almost like he just needs to take a breath a little bit and just relax. And I think a little bit more creativity will come out. But yeah, he's almost over relying on that athleticism. But I think he's good enough to where I think he just needs to actually take some people on in a more nonchalant way than he does. I think you can almost see that he's stressed out a little bit the way he's trying to do it. I don't know if that's me just making that up or.
Yeah, I mean, there are two different types of defenders on the outside. There's some that are a little bit more creative types, and Bello has some real skill, particularly going forward. And there are others who just live and die by their motor and getting up and down the line. And he seems to be the latter type of fullback. But, there are been some phenomenal fullbacks who have gotten by on their motor, for example.
Yeah. And the player that I think probably was a little over his skis more than I've seen, you saw a little bit of this, I think, in the CCL game you mentioned, like a deer in headlights. I thought Eric Lopez definitely got his head in the wrong place in that game out of the gates with I forget the other player, but it was.
You mean the yellow card?
Well, he got a yellow card, and he could have been on the edge of getting a red, which is why he got taken out of the game because he was being a hothead for sure in that game. And
Hines is kind of player though.
Yeah, but not in a productive.
And a Mikey Dobbs kind of player, I would add.
I don't think he was being productive in that game. I think he was actually getting shut down. Now this last game.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean,
that's a different story. But
he
we're
was
talking about the Seattle game.
Terrific at the bench, against Nashville, and has shown, I think, some real, potential.
Heineman, not a lot to talk about in the first half. Again, probably was moving and creating a lot of space, but I didn't see a lot.
What did you think of Josef Martinez in that game? In our continued evaluation of his return.
He had a good strike according to my notes here.
He had an absolute cannon.
Yeah, so he wasn't. I like to see that. Right, it was a pretty long range shot, but didn't go to. It fizzed over the top left of the
in
corner,
the second
right?
half. 60th minute or something like that.
No, I think this was first half, unless there's a different strike. I don't know. What do we got here? And. Yeah, and the fact that Heinze also got a yellow in the first half. I don't know what happened on that one, but he was obviously
surely not his last.
No. So that was the first half. Anything else in the first half that stands out to you, or in the game?
No, I mean, if you go back to the CONCACAF Champions League, where we conceded a goal and just panicked and everybody went forward, and then we just had a meltdown. I have to say, on the road in Seattle, conceding an early goal like that and not panicking and everybody sticking to the game plan was good to see.
And as I flip my notes here, I have like kind of three headlines. I felt like there was.
I'm impressed. Look at all you taking notes.
I know. I was sitting here on the couch with some broken ribs, so I had nothing better to do.
Yikes.
I felt like, there's a lack of, urgency, though, when I felt like we actually did have control of the game, and there's the moment to kind of smell blood and go after the game, and I still feel like we're missing that type of commitment to smell the blood, and I felt like we had Seattle on their back foot for a moment in that game, and I think that's why I have the note here. I felt like we were bad on set pieces, and we didn't play enough, like, I guess what you call like any sort of counterattacking soccer where, the old days of Almiron just moving the ball quickly from the back to the front. You're just not seeing that at all. And I'm not saying we have to be a counter-attacking team, but there are moments when you got to get the damn ball up fast to Josef Martinez, and we no longer do that. And that's killing me. So we're not smelling blood. We're bad on set pieces, and there's no sense of urgency type of counter-attacking soccer at all in our DNA right now. I don't know if that's fair or not, but I just don't see that.
Well, I think as I pointed out last time, I don't think until Barco is back playing every match and you have him and Moreno both in the attack, and until Josef Martinez is a lot closer to the Josef Martinez of old, we're not going to have a third gear yet. The team has enough possession in the final third to score 1-2 goals a game. It's not a boring side. But the third gear that gets you the third goal and occasionally the breakout, 5-goal extravaganza, it requires those players being healthy.
And by bad on set pieces, not only do I mean like defending the corner kick, which we got scored on, our free kicks have been bad. A lot of them are just not even on frame. And just, some opportunities that I think were definitely lost on some set pieces that.
Well, Barco looked really good early on free kicks, and then, of course, when he was out, we looked just hopeless on free kicks. Martinez, Brooks Lennon, I think those are the guys who have taken it. But and as you pointed out last year, for those who are aficionados of the podcast, having two players stand over a free kick is really detrimental. It really throws the guy who's going to take it is a little unfocused by it, and it's funny because you had that insight, and I too have had that insight. It's something that I think is nuts, and I would never let my team do as a coach. I agree with you 100%. There's a little bit of focus. The player doesn't take quite as long a run up. The player doesn't balance the ball quite as well. The player's looking at the other guy, and it almost inevitably causes you to just sky a terrible one.
It does. It really does. Thanks for bringing that up again, because was that in the Seattle game that was where that was happening? It was I think it was actually
both games.
I think it was both games, but it was definitely in the Nashville game when Barco was in the game, and Barco did not end up taking that.
Yeah, he came on. I thought, maybe they brought him on and he was going to take the free kick, first 20
moment.
seconds, but.
And he should have. And he should have told the other guy to get the hell off the ball. Who was it, Mulroney that took it?
It wasn't Mulroney. I thought it was Martinez. I think it was Martinez.
I don't know. I don't think it was, but maybe. You think maybe you might be right.
Could have been Brooks Lennon. Maybe it was Brooks Lennon.
Back to the Seattle game. Mulroney, I think, came on in the second half. Maybe, am I wrong on that? Yeah, he must have come in for.
Halftime, I think
he must come on for Eric Lopez, and I thought he played quite well.
It's interesting. We had a discussion about, Mulroney with his speed was getting by people and getting into the corner, but then he can't deliver a cross with his right foot. He's left-footed, so he was just cutting it back and just ruining the whole momentum. And in the middle of the game, a couple games ago, Heinz moved him from right midfield where he could cut inside and shoot to left midfield where it was on his natural left foot for the cross. And we had this conversation about, was that just a moment or was that an actual move? And the answer is it was an actual coaching move by Heinze, because he's never gone back out on the right.
Yeah.
Which I think is brilliant, right? Because Heinze is now, people say, oh, Heinze loves a cut-in player or whatever. And here's an example of a coach who is, obviously prefers that. That's what he started with. That's what he's done in the past. But he's not just devoted to it to the point where he's like, well, that's not working. Let's switch it.
Yeah. And again, though, I thought he brought a good energy, Mulroney, when he came in. And
do you think that De Boer would ever switch something that he thought was not going right?
No.
He was just so, emphatic about his, he knew which way it was supposed to go.
Yeah. I don't know. My notes aren't making any sense anymore. So
we've reached the end of Mikey Dobbs' notes. Okay, now we're winging it.